Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well out there as always. Today I'm going to be doing a quick video to show you the difference between using GPS and UltraTrac. So first let me start by saying I'm using the Garmin Instinct solar watch. Doesn't matter if you've got one of the solar models or non-solar models to this watch. This video should work the same for everybody. I'm also using the watch as delivered from Garmin. I haven't made any adjustments to any of the hotkeys. So one of the benefits of this watch is you can use different GPS settings per activity that you're doing. Let me show you what I'm gonna do now. If you've watched my videos in the past, I walk through how to change your GPS settings and all that stuff. I'm kind of assuming you know some of the basics. I'm gonna go ahead and press the menu button. I'm gonna arrow down to settings. I'm gonna choose activities and apps, and I'm just gonna choose the walking activity. Under every activity, you've got a setting per activity. So under the walk settings, I'm gonna arrow down and you'll see that one of those setting options is GPS. I can turn GPS off. That means if I go to a walk activity, don't use the GPS at all. I can use normal GPS, which basically means it's going to use the satellite constellations done by the United States. I can also use the US and Russian satellite constellations or the US and European satellite constellations. Or I can use a feature called UltraTrac. And what I'm doing today in this video is I'm going to show you what the difference is between UltraTrac and normal GPS. When you use GPS, and for sure if you mix it with one of the foreign satellite constellations, it'll use up a lot of battery life. If you're doing a long activity, maybe you're out hiking for a day or two, or maybe you're doing an excursion, they give you the option of doing what's called UltraTrac. And what it does is it records your track points and your sensor data less frequently than GPS. So you're going to lose some detail, but it's going to preserve some battery life for you. One of the questions I get though is, well, what's the difference when you actually go look at the activity in your Garmin Connect account? That's what I'm going to try and show you today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out, I'm going to do the same walk at the same location, same day, but the first lap that I do, I'm going to use GPS only. And then we'll take a look at that in the Garmin Connect app. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna use UltraTrac. And again, we'll take a look at it in the Garmin Connect app. Okay, so now I've done my activities, I'm on my computer and I'm logged into my Garmin Connect account. I thought the easiest way to look at it is this side is going to be the GPS only data, and this side is going to be the UltraTrac data. We're going to look at both activities that I recorded side by side and compare what does the GPS side look like versus the UltraTrac side. So I'm going to go to all activities. And on this side, I'm going to click the GPS walking, and this side, I'm going to click the UltraTrac walking. Now, again, these activities were at the same place, the same date. You can see that this was done yesterday. At 7:09 p.m. was the GPS activity, and then at 7:15 p.m. was the UltraTrac activity. At first glance, you can kind of look and see, the details look pretty similar. 0.26 miles versus 0.28. Time is about the same. Distance is about the same. And the calories are about the same. It's going to record your data. I think the biggest complaint that most people have with UltraTrac is it only records your data marks every minute. So when you go look at your map isn't going to exactly look like what happened. And we'll see that right here. So I'm going to scroll down to where both of the maps are side by side. The place I went to was the local high school track. Well, a track is perfectly oval shaped. You can look at the GPS side and you can see that. Here's where I started my walk. All the way around, you can also see the different elements of pace, slower, faster, all of that. But you can tell I walked around the track. When you go look at the UltraTrac, even though I did the exact same walk, it almost looks like I cut across the football field at the end. I started here, everything's fine along the side, but instead of it recording me going all the way around, it recorded from here to here, probably because it was in between recordings on the GPS. That's the biggest complaint. If we scroll down and look at the actual elements of the exercise, they're pretty much the same. The elevation did stay pretty much flat. The pace looks to be fairly accurate between the two. It's always going to be more accurate with the GPS versus the UltraTrac, but it's not that the UltraTrac doesn't record it. You'll notice that the heart rate looks pretty good. Here the heart rate kind of went up. And then again, the temperature stayed pretty flat, which is consistent between the two exercises. If I go down to the stats, again, the stats are fairly comparable. You didn't lose a whole lot of detail between the GPS and the UltraTrac. In most people's complaints, again, the UltraTrac is for, hey, I'm doing a long hiking trip or maybe an expedition, something that you're really wanting to preserve battery life, but you got to know you're going to lose some details on that activity. So again, when we go back here, I'm going to show you another thing. I'm going to play back this activity. Now we're going to start with the GPS side. Okay, I'm going to start it. You'll notice it's fairly smooth. You can see my data mart moving pretty consistently throughout the whole thing. There's no stops. The reason it's consistent is because the GPS is constantly recording the data. Now when we go over here to the UltraTrac and play it back, it's still kind of the same, but you'll notice like here, it stops. Well, I never stopped during the activity, and then it jumps all the way to the end, and here it stops. It looks like I've stopped and got water or tied my shoes or something. That never actually happened, but because of the way the UltraTrac wrote the data, that's what my activity looked like. Let me go to a little bit longer activity, and I'll show you the same thing. So again, this was the exact same course. I can tell you on the left-hand side, again, the GPS side, this is a more accurate representation of the walk I actually did. Notice at the end here, I basically went around and came back, whereas on the UltraTrac side, it looks like I stopped and then walked back this way and then walked back and went. That's totally inaccurate. But again, that's the way the GPS recorded it. Again, if I do the playback, on the GPS side, it's smooth. It's got a lot of data marks that it's recorded. So when I play it back, you can actually see the way the activity was. Now I'll play back the same activity on the UltraTrac side. And again, we'll see some choppiness here. Even though I was walking the whole time, now it's showing that I stopped, then it jumped over there, then it's stopping again. Again, it's because it didn't record as many data marks, so it's a much choppier recording and a not so great representation of what actually happened in the activity. But anyway, you got to remember, I did save probably some battery life by using the UltraTrac versus the GPS. If you're really into your activity, if you really want a valid representation of the data and the map that you did, use GPS, don't worry about battery life. The only time I would ever recommend UltraTrac is if you're really up against it with your battery and you need to preserve battery life because you're going to be doing a long activity, then that's where it would come into play. Anyway, I hope this video gives you an idea of what is GPS going to look like versus UltraTrac. If you've got any questions, post them in the comments. I'd be happy to help you out. Thanks for watching.